Greetings, Slaw sisters. This is Carla. Welcome back to my kitchen. Today I am making a thing that when I make it for dinner, I feel like a true rebel with a cause. I feel like a free bird. I feel like liberation is mine. That's right, tonight we're having burgers for dinner. I am making pork burgers with cabbage slaw. I am going to take this ground pork, give it kind of a sausagey vibe with some really easy spices that you probably already have, and then whip together a crunchy, creamy, vinegary slaw so that when you eat the burger, you get a mix of hot and juicy, you get the cold and crunchy, you get a soft and pillowy. It's everything at once. You could even convince yourself that you are having a serving of vegetables, and frankly, you don't even need a plate. Before I get into today's recipe, I want to take a minute and thank our sponsor, Butcherbox, for supporting this episode. One of my great dreams in life is to have my very own chest freezer, and until that happens, I am just going to lean into the amazing feeling of getting a Butcherbox delivery straight to my door. Here is the deal with Butcherbox. Butcherbox promises high quality meat and an unbeatable value. The boxes are customizable. You can choose your frequency, and if you need to cancel, you can do so at any time with no penalty. Every Butcherbox delivery comes in an eco-friendly, fully recyclable box, and Butcherbox works with farmers and fisher people who meet the highest standards of quality. For a limited time, new members will receive 2 pounds of 100% grass-fed ground beef in every box for the lifetime of their membership. Please visit the link in my description to learn more and sign up. I'm gonna season the pork with ordinary seasonings. I've got fennel, I've got cumin, I've got cayenne. I want to toast the fennel seed before I grind it. I'm keeping it a little coarse so that I have texture. It's also going to season the pork burgers themselves. It's also going to go into the slaw. So one spice, two ways. Look, they're done. So that was just 2 minutes. The seeds are like lightly golden. They have this green hue to them, so they turn this like greenish gold. And you should see that transformation, but you can also smell it. So this amount of fennel, I just have to remember to tell you, is going to end up in 2 places. So when I season the pork, I'm gonna use half of it. Let's eyeball half of this. I'm gonna season with kosher salt. This is ground cumin. Now that I think of it, like you could toast, if you have whole cumin seeds, toast those and then grind them. That would be very delicious. And this is cayenne. If you don't like spicy stuff, use a sweet paprika instead. Black pepper. The best way to mix this is with your hands. Take your rings off first. And I'm not like actually making sausages, so there's no part of this mixing that's about working the meat to a certain texture or getting a film on it. I just want to mix enough so that the spices are distributed and actually like not overwork the meat so that it's not super compacted, which will make for a craggier burger in the end. Other ground things that can be used are ground turkey. You could definitely use beef. I think ground lamb with these flavorings would also be quite delicious. If you like ground chicken, I guess use it. And the ground meat substitutes, I think, would also work really well. The goal is to divide this into 4 equal size balls. They will all be 6 ounces each because this was 1.5 pounds. If you have a scale and you enjoy weighing things, then go for it. I have a scale and I love weighing things. 5.6, good enough for me. So I have a scale and I decided to weigh a different amount of meat. We are not making meatballs. These do not have to be perfectly round. In fact, handling them less is better. This is something I learned working at Shake Shack. You want to like loosely pack the ground meat so that when you smash it down, it very freely kind of spreads out. And when it does that, you get like a nice smash burger and you get nice craggy, uneven edges. For a burger that's more like a bar burger or a burger where you're gonna put a filling, you would like pack it tightly and neatly, and that burger tends to be the kind of burger that you can cook to a certain temperature and is like really juicy in the middle. These are gonna be more caramelized, crackly, craggy, crunchy. I'm going to make the slaw before I cook the burgers because I want to have the burgers like hot and juicy. It's not a long amount of time in between these two things, but that's the order that we're gonna do it, and then your slaw is gonna be ready. We have a gorgeous cabbage. I'm gonna start by making the dressing in this bowl. Dijon mustard. I think my dad cross-tested this recipe now that I think about it. So the Stovetop Suppers chapter of That Sounds So Good is meant to be like really quick weeknight dinners that shouldn't take a ton of planning or necessarily skill to execute. And my dad, who is a good cook and a really good eater, is kind of the perfect subject to do the testing for me. And I remember my mom saying that he did a pretty good job. So this is very like similar to any kind of a creamy slaw dressing, except I think the changes from my recipe is like I'm not putting any sugar in this. Like slaws usually have a ton of sugar, which I really don't enjoy, and upping the vinegariness of it so that it has like, it doesn't feel heavy and it doesn't coat your palate. And I need half a cup of yogurt. This is annoyingly 1.3 ounces more than that. It's metric. So just keep in mind when you're seasoning, mustard is salty, and so is the mayonnaise. And I've got the remaining teaspoon of toasted ground fennel. Burgers need a special sauce. This slaw dressing is gonna be that. It's gonna be enough to coat and turn the cabbage into a slaw, but it's also kind of like a great little special sauce for the burger in and of itself. Like, it's kind of like Dijonnaise. Have you had Dijonnaise? It's like Dijonnaise was just more tangy and more vinegary. That's what this tastes like. So I think I want about a quarter of this head. This is a Savoy cabbage. You could use regular green cabbage. You could use a Napa cabbage. You could use a pointy cabbage, which come around this time of year and they are delightful. The other thing that makes this slaw-ish flavors, but not slaw, is I'm not gonna go into like a chiffonade and I'm not gonna turn this into shreddis because I am on record that I do like shredded lettuce in certain applications, but not when there's a hot ingredient because then it just gets wet and wilted. So what I want is more like small planks. So I'm going for something like 1.5 inches. Really? You want cabbage? Okay, great. She loves cruciferous. All right, let's see how this looks. This looks good. Generously coated, but not like there's no extra dressing pooling at the bottom. How does this look? You guys like this? Smash it down time. I have a very large cast iron skillet. It has been preheating for a couple of minutes. So the skillet itself is hot. And I've talked about this in the past, but cast iron does have amazing heat conductivity, but it does need to be preheated. So it's not gonna retain that heat until it has the heat, and it's not gonna have the heat until you give it the heat, and you gotta give it a minute. So the goal with the burgers is as soon as they hit the pan, to smash them out, to get them like wide and flattened and get that edge that I was talking about before. You want something firm that's not gonna necessarily bend. This might actually work really well. I'm gonna try doing it with this. And these are already seasoned. Remember, I added salt from the beginning, so I don't need to season the surface of the burger. Yep. This is all normal stuff. I guess because I used wood. That did not pass the smash test. So now I'm gonna do something that we used to do at Shake Shack, which is take the spatula, but then use this thing as a pressy down. Oh, that worked. Burgers are in. I want these guys to cook until their fat really starts to render. The underside of the burger is really dark brown and crisp, and I am not gonna turn them until I see that. So like many other things I've done Here on the show, I'm gonna kill it on the first side and really max out my browning, my caramelization, my flavor development, my Maillard reaction, all of those things, and weight it towards the side that is closest to the heat surface to really get that super dark. These have been in for about 3 minutes and the surface is looking gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous. So this is dry, crisp, really good color, craggy around the edges, plenty of juices collecting on the top, nobody's stuck. And because this is pork, I want to cook it till, you know, it's cooked through. No one wants to eat undercooked pork, but the second side is going to go faster than the first, so probably 2 to 3 minutes on the second side. Don't go over. Keeping an eye on it. With pork, it's really easy to tell because it'll go from pink to white when it's cooked. You really don't have to guess whether it's cooked through or not. I'm going to transfer these out and let's just look. That underside still got some browning. It's cooked through, it's firm, it's white, it's great, but still this is like your flavor payoff side is that first side. And I'm gonna go straight back into the same skillet and do the other two. Beautiful burgers. This is something that stresses me out in the world about burgers. And I know there's a way that people think is the right way and a way that people think is the wrong way. And then maybe people don't agree. But what order you put your toppings down in the burger, like the emoji has the lettuce on the bottom or the lettuce is on top and the tomatoes on the bottom, whatever it is. I think about it all the time and I'm not sure that there is a right answer. I think it's just personal preference. But in a fit of indecision, I decided that this delicious cabbage slaw is gonna go on the bottom and on the top. So it's gonna be a sandwich inside of a sandwich. So we're gonna go bun, and then we're gonna go slaw, and then burger, and then slaw. Do you see what's happening here in the architecture? And that way, when you bite through, your teeth are gonna get the bun and then the slaw top and bottom, and then the juicy in the middle. So it is a literal palindrome. It's a pork palindrome burger. And because the slaw is so saucy, I did not feel the need to also sauce my bun. Oh no, it's already falling apart. So like, see when you have the craggy edge and the craggy edge comes out? That's good. I'm apologizing in advance. It's very good. It feels like it has more flavor than it should somehow. It's like all of the mustardiness and the vinegar of the slaw plus the crunch, but then that toasty fennel is like layered throughout. And pork just tastes really different than beef. So it's not like, it doesn't feel like I'm eating a regular beef burger that you've had a million times. One lie I told you was that you don't even need a plate, but you absolutely do because of the things that fall out that you're gonna wanna eat. I wanna take another bite, but I probably should say something. In conclusion, make the pork burger and make the cabbage slaw and like, just have fun, be a fun burger person. I'm having a fun time. Okay, goodbye.